Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Reynolds, coming to you on a Saturday night. We will not have a podcast next Saturday night. We will be on a residential investigations with our good friends, 10 Paranormal. Um, but there will be a podcast next Sunday night. My guest next Sunday is Chris Williams. He's the founder and owner of Get Haunted Midwest. He's also a YouTuber, so he will be my guest next week. We couldn't get a guest this week because we were away for 2 days at the Marshall Cinema Haunted House, helping out with that. We like to thank Kim, her daughter Allie, Daniela, the whole Marshall Cinema family and staff for inviting us and letting us take part in the haunted house. I got to play a scare actor last night and Thursday night, and we had a good turnout this year. Quite a few people come through the door last night. None of my viewers, if you came, you didn't guess who I was. Um, so I must have hit out pretty good. But it was a good night. My character was Jason Voorhees this year. They had a whole Camp Crystal Lake set up and got some awesome scares in. I had one couple kids with me up there. There was one dressed like this little alien guy that kind of looked like a rake, and he would flip over backwards and walk on his hands and feet to scare people. And he did a pretty awesome job. They all did. I mean, scaring people, especially the clowns. The clowns were the first thing you seen when you came in, and they really got the crowd going. And then you go through and see several. I will play a video. There is a clip they actually put out for the cinema for the haunted house last night. Um, and I will load that up here for you so you can actually see the whole layout and what we did. Um, it was an awesome time. Had a good time with it. Um, so I'm gonna play the video, and you guys will get to see the walk through the haunted house and all the awesome work they put into it and hard work. They've worked long hours to actually put this thing on, and so without further ado, I'm gonna play the video for you.
Clowns here for your amusement and joy. Listen to us having so much fun. Perhaps you would like to join the circus too? There's always room for more. Come with us. Meat's back on the menu here. Prepare yourself for the journey.
Come back!
And that was the haunted house that we did last night. Um, as you can see, the layout was pretty cool. What they did, all the hard work that went into it. Um, so we thank everybody for coming out last night and Thursday night. Um, as you saw, my Jason character at Camp Crystal Lake um, got some pretty good scares in. Like I said, uh, we made nightmares happen. That's for sure. Everybody did. Um, so I'm gonna plug an event, and then we're gonna get right into our topic. We will be at Christmas Magic and Bazaar in Sandusky, Ohio. That is coming up here December 6th. So come out and see us. All the proceeds and stuff go to the help the needy kids and families. You're welcome to bring donations, clothing, food, coats, mittens, shoes, any clothes to help needy families. And Jen Jacobs is putting on a big thing. We are one of the VIP guests. We guest speak at 1 o'clock um, in the afternoon, and we will be leading the paranormal investigation afterwards. So check out Eclipse Paranormal and the website. You'll find this event on my page as well. Check that out, and so you'll be able to get tickets to that. I know you can get VIP tickets as well, so that gives you access before everybody else gets in the door, so you can come hang out with us VIPs, vendors, all before the regular crowd gets in with the regular ticket purchase. So, um, make sure you get your tickets in advance because they're probably going to sell out fast. Also, if you're wanting to see Annabelle, tomorrow is the last day you'll be able to see Annabelle at Scarefest in Kentucky. Um, she will not be on the road anymore after this year. The Devils on the Run tour is over after this year. So if make sure you get your tickets quick to get in there and see Annabelle in the Warrens Occult Museum. I know they brought out quite a bit of stuff. So Father Bob's there, Ryan Buell, Rick Clark, Chris Galorn, Wade Kirby, and the whole crew's out there. Black Lantern Paranormal's out there helping out with the museum also. So make sure you go in and say hi to those guys and check out all the other paranormal vendors there, even movie actors. Our good friend Bill Mosley's there and Kane Hodder. As you've probably seen, there was a video out. Kane Hodder got to meet Angry Grandma. So, and Angry Grandma is out there. He got to meet Annabelle for the first time also. So, we're going to get right into our topic. Um, our first one we're going to talk about is it's called Indrid Cold. He is known as the Smiling Man entity. Um, he is commonly known as the Smiling Man. He's an allegedly humanoid entity. The nickname comes from the being's tendency to smile at almost everyone who encounters him. It is said that he still visits West Virginia to this day. Description: the grinning man is reported to be human like in appearance, though he is commonly associated with UFO activity and is sometimes believed to be an alien. It is also believed to be possible that he is connected with the Men in Black. In his first sighting, he was described as being over 6 feet tall and wearing a reflective green suit with a black belt. He had a dark complexion and small, beady eyes set far apart. He was described as not having any nose, ears, or hair. In the second known encounter, his suit was said to be blue instead of green, but still retained the reflective property. Other than that, he was described as looking perfectly natural with slick back hair, a coat with the top two buttons unbuttoned, and having pants lighter than the coat, but still the same material. He was also described as being quite tan, though not dark, and looking like any normal human being. According to reports made by Woodrow Benger, Indrid Cold came from the planet named Lanalos in the Gemidus galaxy, and there were two other grinning men by the names of Demo Hassan and Carl Ardu. The first sightings of this entity was first seen on October 16th, 1966, when two boys, Martin Mouse Menavuv and Jimmy J. Yanchinetis in New Jersey, were walking on 4th Street when they saw a surreal figure standing near a fence. As they walked closer, the figure was a tall, bald man wearing a metal green suit who was staring right at them with a huge grin. The idiosyncratic man chased them until they got away from him. UFO sightings were also reported around the area. Jimmy nudged me and said, "Who's the guy standing behind you?" I looked around and there was behind that fence, just standing there. He pivoted around and looked right at us. Then he grinned a big old grin. According to Night Mom, the boys only recalled the more frightening details of their encounter later on. They would recall that the man in green suit was usually tall and had unnatural facial features, such as the lack of ears and nose, even though most sources mention the New Jersey sighting, Indrid Cold and the grinning man could be completely different entities. Second sighting, the man called Cold, the Woodrow Berger interview on November 2nd, 1966, in Parkersburg, West Virginia, around the same time as the Mothman came about. Woodrow Berger was driving his way home on Interstate 77 until he heard a crash. Then an identifiable vehicle appeared to land in front of his truck. He described it as an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck and then enlarging in a great bulge in the center. The grinning man came out of the vehicle with a dark tan and walked up to Darren Berger and telepathically said his name was Indrid Cold, and he meant no harm. Cold said he was just wanted to know more about the human race, and he would visit Darren Barger again. After the encounter, Darren Barger stated that Cold revealed he was from the planet Lanolos in the galaxy of Gemidus. The third sighting by this entity was during the same period as Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The Lilly family had been reporting poltergeist activity in their home, such as a diamond shaped lights. The Lilly's daughter, Linda, was sleeping one night and awoke to see a man standing over her. Indrid Cold Valiant Thor, who maybe presented himself as Indrid Cold to the Darren Barger family, appeared at Howard's Menger's UFO convention in High Bridge, New Jersey in 1957. Publisher Gray Barker worked with Thor to convince several contactees to approach authorities and publish books. In the apparent attempt to influence public opinion on a variety of political issues, it was a big man, very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but I could see that he was grinning at me. He walked around the bed and stood right over me. I screamed again and hid under the covers. When I looked again, he was gone. The explanations last supposed image of Demo Hassan photo taken by Alan Greenfield in 1969 at Congress of scientific UFOology in Charleston, West Virginia, organized by Gray Barker, it is commonly believed that Indrid may be an alien entity and that this is supported by its close connection with UFO activity. And when Darren Barger's sighting, it also is also said by Darren Barger that the grinning man is in fact a species of aliens with multiple grinning men. Where this is unlikely unless the aliens are shapeshifters because it would be almost impossible for a race to take the exact same involuntary path as us. However, the third sighting by Lilly family suggests instead of it may being a ghost or spirit of some kind, it was connected with poltergeist activity happening in the residence. It may be a prank that went too far or a man with a mental illness. Others believe that it is a normal human man or a hoax based off of the popularity and fear of the Mothman, who had been first sighted around the same time. Tenura Darren Berger mentions in her book that Indrid Cold might also be known as Valiant Thor, who spent 3 years at the Pentagon. In popular culture, Indrid Cold is featured in popular trading card games, MetaZoo, Cryptid Nation, Indrid Cold. Indrid Cold is depicted in MetaZoo, Cryptid Nation, who is a smiling man who is a smiling man. That's some of the little info I found on there on him. Uh, so what do you guys think? Is he an alien or is he an entity? I'm leaning more towards a ghostly entity that appears. Um, I mean, it could also be another story, kind of like Slender Man, where you plant the seed in somebody's mind in the story and they run with it. So it's hard to say about that. What's that? So moving on, we're gonna talk about common thing, ghosts. There are several different types of ghosts. Um, we the ghost originates from the woods of Gosidos, a Germanic Old Norse meaning rage. Gast Old English or Geist, as in poltergeist, is the soul of a dead person or animal. Disembodied spirit, usually a vague, shadowy, or evanescent form, as wandering among or haunting living persons. The idea of ghost states that our cryptids are not all they appear to be. Ghosts and cryptozoology, when with my early years looming, I became seriously fascinated by the subject of cryptozoology, the search for the study of mysterious undocumented creatures such as Sasquatch, the Yeti, and the Loch Ness Monster. Everything for me was very much black and white. Bigfoot and the abdominal snowman were giant, as yet unclassified apes, the Loch Ness Monsters. I say monsters rather than monster, as encounters span more than 1,000 years, effectively ruling out the possibility of just one creature being involved, were surviving relics from the Jurassic area and the veritable imaginary of amazing animals in the midst of including werewolves and sea serpents are simply creatures that science and zoology had yet to identically classify. Unknown or not, they were still flesh and blood creatures, so I assumed as time progressed. However, as my teens became my 20s and then my 30s, my views began to change, in which for very good reason. The beasts with which I had become obsessed as a child, I later came to realize were not just strange, they were actually too strange. Despite the fact there have been literally thousands of sightings of Bigfoot within a dark forest of North America over the past several centuries. All attempts to identify, trap, or kill even one such animal have ended in complete and utter failure. Unlike just about every other living creature in the United States, Bigfoot has never had the misfortune of being hit by a car or truck and killed, nor has anyone ever stumbled across the corpse of one of these elusive animals. And there are countless cases on record in which people have attempted to shoot Bigfoot, but the bullets seem to have no effect on the animals whatsoever. It is much the same with monsters of Loch Ness, Scotland. Although Loch Ness is sizable, it is approximately 24 miles long, roughly a mile wide, and about 700 feet deep. It is hardly remote or inaccessible. Certainly, every year, tens of thousands of people flock to Scotland in hope of seeing the elusive long neck entities of those dark waters, and nearly all go home disappointed. And the short version of the Loch Ness monster, they call it Nessie. That's the nickname that the Scottish people gave it. Ambitious projects designed to seek out creatures with sonar submarines have always failed to turn up anything conclusive. Attempts to photograph the animals on the rare occasions they have surfaced from the murky depths have often proved to be curiously problematic, as well as cameras jam at crucial moments and photographs are inexplicably blurred or fogged. Then there are matter of the eating habits of these mysterious beasts, or more correctly, their overwhelming lack of eating habits. Bigfoot, given its immense size and build, eyewitness report described a creature 8 feet tall, weighing at an estimate 300 to 600 pounds, would likely require massive intake of nourishment. After all, a fully grown silverback gorilla requires tremendous amount of food on a daily basis. Imagine the amount of nourishment required by a whole colony of silverbacks. Indeed, one of the reasons why it is so easy to track the movements and activities of gorillas is not only because they are very social animals that live in groups, but it's also because of the clear and identifiable evidence of their massive hour by hour efforts foraging for food. However, there is very little, if any, evidence of Bigfoot's culinary delights. Yes, there are very occasional reports of Bigfoot killing a pig here or a deer there, but for the most part, the hard evidence of its eating habits, which again would have be tremendous in nature, is conspicuously absent. Moreover, that Bigfoot is seen in locals hardly noted for their rich and abundant food supplies, such as the depths of Nevada desert and West Texas, only adds to the high strangeness. And it's much the same with Loch Ness. If a large colony of plesiosaurs have managed to survive extinction and now calls the Loch their home, now exactly are they sustaining their massive bulk? Yes, the Loch Ness is populated by a number of kinds of fish, such as salmon, eel, pike, and trout, but the populations are more certainly not in numbers. Allow a school of 20 aquatic beasts, each 15 to 25 feet in length, to secure significant nourishment on a day to day basis to ensure their survival, health, and reproduction over the centuries. In other words, most of all of the many and varied creatures that fall squarely under the cryptozoological banner appear at the first glance to be flesh and blood animals, elevate ones as yet unclassified by science. On study their curious eating habits and activities suggest they are actually nothing of the sort. Indeed, given their elusiveness, they seem to rather more spectral, eth- ethereal, and phantom-like in nature. Could it be the case that some of the strange and fantastic monsters that plague the perplex people all across the world on dark, windswept nights within thick woods and amid cold waters of ancient lochs and lakes are far less, or paradoxically far more than they appear to be. With the above question in mind, I'll leave you with another question to ponder upon. Are other monsters actually ghosts? History 70,000 BCE, prehistoric times. In prehistoric religions, spirits were commonly worshipped not as ghosts. The earliest religions in human history worshipped spirits. A number of archaeologists proposed that Middle Paleolithic societies, such as the Neanderthal societies, may have also practiced the earliest form of Totemism or spirit worship. Emil Bachler, in particular, suggests, based on the archaeological evidence in the Middle Paleolithic caves, that a widespread Middle Paleolithic Neanderthal bear cult existed 2000. The WUNN 2000, a claim that evidence was found for Middle Paleolithic spirit worship in 70,000 BCE, originates from the Isidolo Hills in the African Kalahari Desert, has been denied as the original investigators of the site. Spirit culprits in the following Upper Paleolithic period, such as the bear cult, may have had their origins in the hypothetical Middle Paleolithic spirit cult. Spirit worship during the Upper Paleolithic is intertwined with hunting rites. For instance, archaeological evidence from the art and bear remains reveals that the bear cult apparently had a type of sacrificial bear ceremonialism in which a bear was shot with arrows and then was finished off by a shot in the lungs and ritualistically buried near a clay bear statue covered by a bear fur, with the skull and the body of the bear buried separately. Are still worshipped today in Shinto in Japan, African Togo cultures, Native American tribes, Hinduists, and Bali. However, most of the cultures regard spirits as deities rather than ghosts in their religious systems. And then 14,000 BCE, the Jamon period lasted about 14,000 until 300 BC. In Japanese folklore analogous to Western legends of ghosts. The name consists of two kanji, meaning faint or dim, and rei, meaning soul or spirit. Alternative names include bore, meaning ruined or departed spirit, shirayu, meaning dead spirit, or the more compassing yokai or obate. Like their Chinese and Western counterparts, they are thought to be spirits kept from a peaceful afterlife. According to traditional Japanese beliefs, all humans have the spirit or soul called a rekon. When a person dies, the rekon leaves the body and enters a form of purgatory, where it awaits for the proper funeral and post funeral rites to be performed so it may join its ancestors. If this is done correctly, the rekon is believed to be the protector of the living family and to return yearly in August during the Oben festival to receive thanks. However, if the person dies suddenly or violent manner, such as murder or suicide, it is if the proper rites have not been performed, or if they are influenced by powerful emotions such as a desire for revenge, love, jealousy, hatred, or sorrow, the reckoned is thought to be transformed into the Uri, which can bridge the gap back to the physical world. The Uri then exists on Earth until it can be laid to rest, either by performing the missing rituals or resolving an emotional conflict as still ties into the physical plane. If the rituals are not completed or the conflict is left unresolved, the Yuri will persist in a haunting. In the late 17th century, a game called Hakakomodori Kandari became a popular, and Akkadian increasingly became the subject for theater, literature, and other arts. At this time, they began to gain certain attributes and distinguish themselves from living humans, making it easier to spot a Yuri characters. 2000 BCE, ancient Egypt, ancient Egyptian ghosts. There are many references to ghosts in Mesopotamian religions, the religions of Sumer, Babylon, Assyria, and other early states in Mesopotamia. Traces of these beliefs survive in later Abrahamic religions that came to dominate the region. Ghosts were thought to be created at the time of death, taking on the memory and personality of a dead person. They travel to another world where they are assigned a position and led an existence similar in some ways to that of living relatives. The dead were expected to make offerings of food and drink dead to ease their conditions. If they did not, the ghosts could inflict misfortune and illness on the living. Traditional healing practices ascribed a variety of illnesses to the action of ghosts, while others were caused by gods or demons. The Hebrew Bible contains few references to ghosts associating spiritualism with forbidden occult activities. Dormitory 1811, the most notable reference is the first book of Samuel, which a disguised King Saul has the witch of Endor summon the spirit ghost of Samuel. There was widespread belief in ghosts in ancient Egyptian cultures that the sense of the continued existence of the soul and spirit after death, with the ability to assist or harm the living and possibility of a second death over a period of more than 2,500 years. Egyptian beliefs about the nature of the afterlife evolved consistently. Many of these beliefs were recorded in inscriptions, papyrus scrolls, and tomb paintings. The Egyptian Book of the Dead compiles some of the beliefs from different periods of ancient Egyptian histories. In modern times, the fanciful concept of a mummy coming back to life and wreaking vengeance when disturbed has spawned a whole genre of horror stories and films. One type of ghost, the Tennessee ghost dog. The ghost dog is the ghost, presumably of a dog sighted in Tennessee, mainly in eastern Tennessee. It is described as being a very large and solid black in color. Witnesses claim that the large dog barks and growls at locals and is known to occasionally bite victims before disappearing. Other locals claim to hear loud, deep barking at night. The ghost dog is featured in one of Bill's channel's real or fake videos where he goes to visit family in Tennessee. He and a local resident trekked into the nearby woods hoping to find answers. The two eventually find three wooden dog houses, all of them rotting and withering away. Behind the dog houses is a large pit, almost as if it was a dog fighting ring. Goddard Squadron, the Goddard Squadron ghost. Bill's channel theorized that Tennessee ghost dog could be the ghost of a dog killed in a dog fight. Could the ghost dog be the ghost of the dog trying to seek revenge? Is it a demon? It is simply a normal dog. The topic is left up for debate, as Bill's channel determined that the anomaly to be unknown. I mean, we'll touch on that before we go to our next one. There is such thing as called hellhounds, and they do look like dogs, and they will attack also. They are demon dogs. That's why they are called hellhounds. Um, so that could be also what they're seeing in Tennessee. It could be a hellhound. I mean, there's a lot of strange stuff that goes on in Tennessee and those Smoky Mountains and stuff that all being connected to the Appalachian Mountains. So, I mean, that could be what they're seeing too, because a lot of evil, a lot of dark stuff happen. I mean, you've got moonshiners getting killed out there, fighting with law enforcement. All that violence draws negative energy. So, what's saying that it's not drawing a hellhound in? Um, Ghost camel. Ghost camels are is a term that refers to either wild or feral camels sighted in the United States from an unknown biological origin or urban legend. Stories tell that in modern age there are camels wandering the southwestern USA. Most famous occurrences were of the red ghost, which is the first encountered in 1883, but dromedary camels have been reported in America as early as the 1700s when a sea captain, Crownshield, first brought a male and female camel to Salem, Massachusetts. Later, camels were endorsed by some politicians to be used in explorations and travel through the American West by U.S. military, as camels could go longer with less water in such dry conditions than mules and horses. The red ghost, also known as Phantasma Colorado, is a cryptid and a well-known legend of Arizona. The red, very large, demonically hideous camel-like creature with a human skeleton tied to its back. Another ghost is called the ghost deer. The ghost deer is a large white elk. Its antlers have 12 points on one side and 10 on the other. It is estimated to weigh about 240 to 250 pounds, although some believe it to be an actual ghost. According to legend, many have attempted to shoot at it, but bullets go right through it. It is said to disappear without a trace to those that see it. That's interesting. I've never heard of a ghost deer. I mean, I've heard of albino deer being white, but never heard of a ghost deer. The Deogen, the Deogen is also known as Deogen or the eyes. It's a spirit or creature said to haunt Belgium's Sonian forest, often appearing as a fog-like mist and accompanied by small shadowy figures. Although based on real events, the tale has evolved into more of a campfire story or urban legend, with a few sightings reported in recent years. And now, most of you paranormal investigators should know this one if you are seasoned, been doing it a long time. The Banshee. The Banshee, or Bensai, is a female spirit like creature in Irish mythology, usually seen as an omen of death or a messenger from the underworld. And, like the term scream like a banshee, and that's what she does. She screams when you encounter her. And that's where they got that term from, scream like a banshee. Ghostly objects. Although many associated the living creatures, there are many have reported haunted objects or entire ghost objects across the world, which are, in fact, your ghost train and ghost lure. A ghost train is a phantom vehicle in the form of a locomotive or train. The ghost train differs from other traditional forms of haunting, and that rather than being a static location where ghosts are claimed to be present, the apparition is the entire train. The Silver Train of Stockholm is a ghost train which features in several Swedish urban legends alleged sightings of a silver colored metro train in Stockholm Metro, which, you hear reports all over the country about ghost trains. You be out there in pitch dark, and all of a sudden, here comes this train out of nowhere, and which with the paranormal activity and stuff, when you have railroads around your house, that energy kicks up paranormal because of the friction of what those wheels on the train causes on those tracks. Causes a lot of static and stuff. Um, Next one is the ghost ship. Ghost ship is a spectral vessel said to appear suddenly on the horizon after glowing or shrouded in mist and vanishing just as mysteriously. These phantom ships are believed to be crewed by the souls of dead sailors forever doomed to sail the seas. Legends of such ships exist worldwide, with the Flying Dutchman being the most famous example. Sightings are often seen of death, disaster, or bad luck for those who witness it. Which, yeah, like your old pirate ships, like the Flying Dutchman's an old pirate ship. I mean, a lot of them pirates were killed out at sea in battles with UMCs and the Coast Guards and the Marines and all them for robbing people and stuff like that, like Blackbeard. I mean, people report hauntings of Blackbeard all over the place. And I mean, his ship is shipwrecked right near South Carolina. So, and I know they brought up one of his cannons. So, I mean, seeing them ghost ships is probably that's what they're seeing. I mean, they did a movie called Ghost Ship as well that talks about that. You get on These people got on board of this ship, and there's nobody in there. The ship just appeared out of nowhere. There's no crew. There's nothing. But all of a sudden, it just appeared out of the mist. So that's even like there was that movie Mist where the sailors were coming out of the fog, pirates and stuff. And I believe that was the Stephen King movie. Our next one is ghost cars, trucks, and buses. Ghost cars, trucks, and buses are phantom vehicles that are said to appear suddenly on dark, deserted roads, after often vanishing without a trace. Witnesses describe them as headlights in the distance that speed towards them before disappearing or passing through solid objects. These spectral vehicles are often linked to fatal crashes, with legends claiming they are driven by spirits of those who died behind the wheel. Some stories tell of drivers being chased or even run off the road by these ghostly automobiles, which I've heard reports of that as well throughout the states that they do see ghost vehicles. There's one story I was reading, and this was actually a police officer. He was going down this dark highway, and all of a sudden, this a vehicle appeared out of nowhere and started coming straight at him. And when it did, it passed right through his vehicle, and he didn't know where it came from. There's several others you hear. There's a cemetery in Albany, New York. Now, this is a gated cemetery. Most of my family's buried in there. My uncles, cousins, my grandma. They report seeing headlights of vehicles driving around the cemetery at night. So, and they swear that there's a car driving through there now. They can't get in there because the gate's closed after sunset. So that, and it's fenced all the way around, so you can't get in there unless you pass through security when them gates are open. So, and that cemetery is also known to be haunted. It's got a lot of old graves in it, from way back in the 17 and 1800s. It's also a lot of mobsters are buried in there as well. Um, so, anybody has any questions that are viewing, feel free to post them in the chat. Um, and we're gonna move on to our next one. This one is actually an urban legend. Um, he's known as the Northfield Pigman. Many report him as being a deformed man, and he's known as an urban legend. He's also known as an actual person, which is this guy right here. Um, as you see, he was a deformed figure. He was also a murderer, known for butchering people. This is him and his wife as well. They are known to be up in northern Vermont. Um, he's known for the Angola butcher slaying. He was known as the Angola butcher pigman. Um, I found little history on him. The Northfield Pigman is also known as Sam Harris, the Pigman of Northfield, and the Vermont Pigman. Is the legend of a boy who went missing at the age of 17 in the hills of Northfield, Vermont in 1951. Description: Sam Harris is often described as being covered in white hair and wears the face of a pig. It is unknown if the pigman is Sam Harris or the beast that ate Sam Harris, so the monster could actually be some sort of cannibalistic Bigfoot. The urban legend: the night before Halloween, October 30th, 1951, Sam set out with eggs in hand for what he called Picket Night, a night of mischief. The next morning, when his parents awoke and found him missing, this set off a huge search that lasted weeks and involved hundreds of locals over hundreds of square miles. He was never found. It is said that there have been sightings of Sam, who some say became possessed by the devil himself. That fateful night, Sam Harris is known to slaughter pigs, eat their eternals, hollow out the pig's head, and wear it over himself, all while terrorizing the New England town locals. Sam supposedly still haunts the hills surrounding Devil's Wash Bowl. Rumor has it he lies with the pigs, and it is also known for bestiality, spawning half man, half pig offspring, although that's biologically impossible. Sightings: years later, some high school kids were out drinking behind the school one night during a dance when this thing came walking out of the woods on two human legs. It was naked, covered in white hair, and was wearing a hollowed out pig's head like some grotesque mask. Naturally, the kids tore out of there and went and told people. Word spread, and some farmer admitted he's seen a figure matching that description digging through his garbage one night. Some pigs had also gone missing recently. More sightings were made of the pigman, but many times the claims were just kids wanting to get attention. Explanation: Sam Harris is most likely just a Halloween story, but some believe it could be a Woodwose or Bigfoot. If it is real, it could potentially be the same species as the pigman of Cannock Chase. And I found a little bit more history on the pigman. This was a blog a gentleman had wrote about it. Um, let me see if I can. His name is on here. No, it's not. Um, but he says, I love a good urban legend, whether it be the Bunny Man or the Sultan Murder House or the Green Man or any number of unsettling mysteries. I will charge headlong into the rabbit hole and go splunking for answers. So naturally, when I heard about Pigman, I was aboard that train. However, this time the rabbit hole was deeper, darker, and full of more twists than I expected. Who is Pigman? It depends on who you ask. Let's start with the legend. Through descriptions vary, Pigman is a monstrous figure, often depicted with a grotesque pig like appearance. In some versions, he is said to have a pig's head, while in others, the pig's face is a mask or the result of a deformatory. Either way, Pigman is a chilling presence lurking in the shadows of dark, isolated places like lovers' lanes, abandoned bridges, or trespassers. His actions are brutal, with accounts of him maiming, mutilating, or even decapitating his victims, sometimes replacing their heads with those of pigs. His behavior mirrors that of other classic boogeyman and folklore, territorial, violent, and driven by his hatred of strangers and teenage makeout sessions. Confounding the issue, there is numerous variations, each claiming to be the true Pigman origin story. In Northfield, Vermont, Pigman is connected to a location known as Devil's Washboard. Here he is said to wear a rotting pig's head, terrorizing anyone who dares to approach. In Texas, particularly near Bonnie Bray Bridge, the tale splits into two variations. One variation speaks of a hunter who was transformed into a half man, half pig after an attack by a wild boar. Other recounts the stories of a man whose face was mutilated by a motorcycle gang, leaving him a monster who hides in the woods. Pigman's Bridge of Hawkinsville, Georgia, also has multiple versions. In one, Pigman is a murderous recluse that who stakes pig heads near the bridge as warning to trespassers. When a group of brazen teenagers ignores these grim totems, Pigman stakes their heads in vengeance. In another, more spectral account, he is described as a vengeful ghost of a circus hog trainer whose life ended tragically when he was killed by, some say, devoured by his own swine. Unfortunately for the legend, there is no historical record of a train wreck near Hawkinsville in 1888 or any other time. The small village of Angola, New York, is steeped in local lore, and which ties back to a tragedy known as the Angola Horror. In December of 1867, a buffalo bound train derailed just outside the village, causing one of the most deadliest train wrecks in the U.S. history. Nearly 50 people perished in a fiery disaster when the passenger cars plunged into a gorge, and the event left a lasting scar on the community. Decades later, the Angola Horror remains a grim touchstone for the region's history and the perfect backdrop for the chilling legend of the Angola Pigman. The Angola Pigman is said to haunt secluded stretch of Holland Road, also known ominously as Pigman's Road. According to the legend, a butcher in the area once slaughtered pigs and displayed their severed heads on a stake, an act that became more sinister when he turned to targeting humans. Other versions tell of a disfigured recluse or the spirit of a man who died in the Angola train disaster. Visitors to Holland Road report eerie phenomenon, from shadowy figures to the unsettling feeling of being watched. The pigman's connection to animal mutilation and the Angolia's horror imbues the tale with layers of dread, making it one of Western New York's most enduring urban legends. The uncanny similarities between the Angola and the Hawkinsville Pigman legends immediately piqued my curiosity. Both featured a shadow figure associated with the rural bridges, gruesome beheadings, and a sinister use of severed heads to mark territory. Each tale also wove into macabre imagery of pigs either as tools of vengeance or as totems of the pigman's violent tendencies. Spectral associations with tragic train wrecks too, bound the two stories together, suggesting a shared origin or cultural thread that wove these chilling elements into localized lore. These parallels convinced me I was closing in on the epic center of the myth, with the Angola's layered history and vivid accounts pointing toward a deeper truth behind the pigman's enduring infamy. So, which is the real pigman? The truth was obscured by layers of intrigue and misdirection. I was leaning towards Hawkinsville, Georgia, especially after disclosing the story of the Con T. Kennedy traveling circus train wreck in the 1915. The tragedy involved the deaths of circus performers and animals, perhaps even pigs, evoking eerie similarities to the ghostly hog trainer of the Hawkinsville myth. Yet the date discrepancy proved troubling. 1915 is decades removed from the 1888 date often cited in Hawkinsville lore. Also, the wreck occurred in Columbia, Georgia, more than 100 miles away. Still show me an urban legend that doesn't blur the dates and locations. I was pretty sure that I'd found the origins of the myth. That was until I found an online PDF by Angola historian MC Hegman. It changed everything. The author or compiler, as they identified, focused on the Derrick family, who, by misfortune, design, or curse, seemed to be at the center of every Angola tragedy. It begins with Elijah Derricks, who in 1855 built his home on Holland Road near the railroad tracks. He was married and two children and lived a relative poverty. Then in 1867, things took a dark turn for the Derricks. In December of 1867, Loring and Henry Derrick's Elijah's son were scavenging for coal along the railroad tracks near their home. Seeking materials to repair a fence, they removed two railroad ties from the tracks, a seemingly minor act with catastrophic consequences. At 3:11 p.m., a passing train hit the loosened section, causing the last two passenger cars to derail and plunge 40 feet into the gorge. Inside, unsecured pot-bellied stoves tumbled through the cars, scattering burning coals, while kerosene lamps fed the ensuing blaze. The inferno claimed the lives of at least 49 passengers and injured countless others, marking what would become known as the Angola Horror. As flames consumed the wreckage, residents of Angola rushed to assist, but according to some accounts, also worked to conceal the Derrick's family role in the disaster. It was feared that blame would not stop with the Derricks, but might bring ruin upon the entire town. Officially, the tragedy was attributed to the faulty frog, a device used to guide trains between different track gauges, avoiding the scrutiny that might have come with an alternative explanation. Despite the town's efforts to move past the calamity, the shadows of the event lingered, and the Derricks family became infamous in local lore. After Elijah Derrick's death, his son Henry relocated to the village of Angola, where Loring stayed on Holland Road to renovate their family home. Around 1906, a mysterious fire destroyed several buildings, and suspicion again fell on the Derrick family. The pressure became too much for Henry, who left town permanently, leaving Loring behind to contend with their tarnished reputation. In 1911, Loring found himself at the center of another calamity while volunteering at the town's Independence Day fireworks display. A tragic accident resulted in a child's arm being pierced by a rocket, and several others suffered severe burns. The $12,500 lawsuit further alienated Loring from the community, deepening his isolation. Loring later married Betsy Crabtree, a woman orchestras because of her parents were first cousins. On April 17th, 1913, the couple had a son, William Derricks, who was born with frontonasal dysplasia, a severe facial deformity that left his nose split, eyes badly spaced, lip cleft. People of Angola whispered that William's condition was a divine curse, a punishment for Loring's misdeeds, casting an even darker shadow over the family already troubled by legacy. Loring, Loring and his family became increasingly reclusive. Even as the town thrived, William received little to no education and had a few friends. The one exception was a one armed boxer who rescued him as a toddler from an oncoming train. This man eventually secured him an internship as a at a butcher shop and later introduced him to a sideshow and circus promoters. Williams spent much of the 40s and 50s touring with various circuses as sideshow acts, returning to Angola sometime in the late 50s. He married his first cousin, Mildred Crabtree, and together they had a son, William Jr. It is also rumored that they had twin daughters, though this is uncertain as there was no birth certificate. They all lived together in William's ancestral home on Holland Road. Sometime after Ed Ball Sanitation opened near the Derrick's house, serving as the town dump, and William became employed there. Throughout the 60s, residents spoke about the strange hooded figure at the dump who spoke in short, mangled sentences directing them to where they were to pile their trash, and how he was frequently seen rifling through piles even before the depositor had left. November of 1966, Mildred died and was buried illegally on the property. There were there are three graves on the site, and other two presumably being to Elijah and his wife, who built the house. It is unknown what exactly became of the twins, though rumors has it they stayed with the Crabtree side of the family. Things took a darker turn around 1969. The dump closed, leaving the area around Holland Road and neighboring Hardpan Road almost unvisited. This is about when the legend of the Pigman began to take form. As the area grew increasingly more isolated, it became an attractive spot for teenagers to throw parties or to park their cars for makeout sessions. William Derricks was not amused. To preserve his privacy, we began posting dead animals along his driveway to deter trespassers. Reports of an angry man in a rusty Ford truck running kids off the road and chasing them away became common. Some, unfortunate enough to see his deformed face, were granted a deeper level of horror, and Holland Road became known as Pigman Road. 1973, a utility worker, Harris Thompson, turned up missing, last seen visiting homes in the Route 5 Holland Road area, never to be seen again. During the search and investigation, authorities visited William Derrick's house, finding him not home. The boy, presumed to be William Jr., was present along with numerous animals. The investigators found the house to be filled with refuse animal feces and generally unfit for human habitation, subsequently contacting Child Protective Services. However, before CPS could respond on the night of October 31st, 1973, the Derrick's house mysteriously burned to the ground. While it was assumed that Derrick's perished in the fire, no human remains were ever found. As for Pigman, the matter is less clear. For years after the fire, small piles of neatly sorted trash could be found along Holland Road. In October of 1978, fire claimed another nearby home while the occupants were on vacation. The owner returned to discover many of his possessions neatly sorted in the small piles throughout the woods. Other witnesses reported being chased out of the area by a rusty old Ford pickup truck, not unlike William Derrick's. Then, of course, there are persistent sightings of the pigman himself, bringing us nearly full circle. So there it was, I found my pigman, or did I? It was a good story, but was it true? At the beginning of the account, MC Hagman claims that many of the names have been changed out of respect for the family. They went into great depths of detail regarding the history of Angola, providing the wealth of contextual information that would be easy to verify. The obvious place to start is the Angola horror. Something didn't sit right in the author's account. I'm not the railroad historian, but it seems unlikely that two young boys would have the strength and gumption to pull a pair of railroad ties out of the ground. The effort is far too great for something as mundane as repairing a fence, when something like a fallen tree or some other source would have been more appropriate. Unless, of course, it was a malicious act, but even then it would be difficult and time consuming. Furthermore, that train wreck was one of the most extensively investigated accidents in railroad history, leading to numerous new safety regulations. Two missing ties would be extremely obvious. It's beyond the pale that any investigators would miss it, or that some ad hoc conspiracy council could pull off a cover up. I can safely say it did not happen. Strike one. As far as the other clues, I did find a story about a one armed boxer recusing a child around 1915. However, the boy was not deformed, did not apprentice as a butcher. He also moved to California and lived a life free of haunted roads and homicide. Though, interestingly, there was a butcher who was murdered in Angola in 1931. Allegedly, the crimes were committed by a local businessman named Antonio Tony Amico. Amico was trying to get in with the mafia in Buffalo, which apparently required him to prove himself by murdering someone. Considering he had a beef with the butcher, he was one of his tenants. It was a kill two birds with one stone scenario. The story made national news, but Amico was never convicted. He lived out his days in Angola, becoming an unsettling local legend. I found nothing about Nearferus Derrick's family like living in the dump by the dump, nothing about a missing meter reader, Harris Tompkins, nor could I find any fireworks fiasco on the 4th of July. CPS reports of a Pharrell Williams Jr. on Halloween house fires. Of course, these things could just be beyond my lens and hard to verify without actually going to Angola and getting gum on my shoe. It seemed that I was at another dead end, and while digging another rabbit hole in the wrecked circus train story, I found the missing piece. Meet William Bill Dix, aka the man with two faces, aka the man with three eyes, aka the pig man. Bill Dirks was born April 17, 1913, and suffered from frontal nasal dyspepsia, exactly as our Angola pigman suspect William Bill Derricks. Derricks also joined the circus later in life at the age of 40, had a wife named Mildred, aka Alligator Skinned Woman. They toured together in various circuses in the 1940s and 50s. Dirk's deformatories gave him the appearance of having two faces, a feature enhanced by the painting a third eye on his forehead. He and Mildred earned notoriety in the sideshow circuit and were voted world's weirdest couple. Unfortunately, this led to some obvious problems. Bill Dirks was born in Alabama and, to my knowledge, never lived in Angola, New York. If there were indeed a deformed psychopath lurking in Holland Road, It wasn't Dirk's. This revelation compiled with the adaptation of the murder butcher lore all but confirms that MC Hagman fabricated the whole Pigman origin story, a fabulous fabrication, but a lie nonetheless. Arriving here, I was left to piece together the remaining clues and develop hypotheses. Some, per, perhaps Dirks was our pigman all along. Did he haunt train bridges or stake heads of hapless trespassers? Probably not. But consider this: Dirks was a well-known performer in the 1940s and 50s who used the pigman moniker in his profession. Could his memory have endured, possibly involved with other cultural phenomenon to become the boogeyman it is today? Then there is the persistent mention of trains in the pigman tales. In this era, circuses commonly toured by train traveling to cities as distant as diverse as many variations of the legend. Maybe someone caught a glimpse of his unsettling visage in passing train window or even encountered him on some moonlit train track. It's not hard to imagine such how an encounter could be misunderstood and its telling became the seed of an urban legend it is today. Finally, I've mentioned the 1915 Con Kennedy circus train wreck, but it was not the only ill-fated traveling circus. There was also the Hagenbeck Wallace circus train crash in 1918 that killed 86 performers and employees and injured more than 100, eclipsing the Angola horror as one of the worst train wrecks in history. So profound was this tragedy that it led Showman's League of known showmen known as Showman's Rest. The plots have grown over 750 today. These two horrific accidents, less than 3 years apart, left a painful scar on the circus industry in America and still resonates today despite Sturks being too young to have been present. These events undoubtedly influenced Pigman's mythos. But what about the William Derrick story? I've debunked enough of it to doubt Hegman's claims, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Angola isn't ground zero for the Pigman legend. Clearly, Pigman was established lore before his historical account. In my research, I've found countless podcasts, websites, and content creators retelling the Derrick's version of the tale as if it were true. If Angola wasn't the pigman's home, it is now, so saith the internet. But it still begs the question of why. I withhold any judgment on MC Hagen's deception. It's too clever of a ruse to be anything other than impressed by it, nor will I speculate too deeply on the motivations for crafting it, other than to say, with all the notoriety Pigman was getting from paranormal TV shows, internet bloggers, and even B grade slasher flicks, maybe they wanted to take back the narrative and preserve the piece of folklore of Angola, whose history they are clearly very passionate about. Long live Pigman. So that's a little bit on Pigman, which is crazy. I mean, again, this is him and his wife, and then a close up picture of him. I mean, I can see why they call him Pigman because he's got his nose is shaped like a pig. And then the newspaper article about him. So that's how the story goes. So we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap up here. Thank everybody who tuned in tonight, and enjoyed the show. We will be back next Sunday night due to the fact we're doing an investigation Saturday. We will be live. The location we're going to do is I got ties to Jesse James, the Battle of Crooked River, which we are going on the anniversary of the Battle of Crooked River. So we'll be out there with our good friends, 10 Paranormal, and so we will see you all next week. And remember, if you're being bullied in the paranormal field, you do have a voice. Everybody have a good night, and we will see you next Sunday. Um, God bless everyone. And if you guys want to check out the haunted house video, check out Marshall Cinema on Facebook. The video is posted there if you want to watch it again. And I will be posting my pictures. I've taken some pictures too. Me dressed as Jason, with my one mask. So everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next week. And remember, next Sunday is my guest is Chris Williams, YouTuber. He's also the owner of Get Haunted Midwest. He was going to come on tonight, but he is in Kentucky at Scarefest. So remember, if you want to see Annabelle, get your ticket. And this tomorrow is the last day you will see Annabelle. She is not hitting the road anymore. They are done after this year. So there will be no more Devils on the Run tour. Annabelle will be housed in a big commercial museum. And also to clear up some rumors, Matt and Elton did not buy the objects. They are leasing the objects for 5 years. Hey, Galactic, welcome in. Um, we're just getting ready to log off here. But she is putting into another museum. Elton and Matt are helping out with that. Um, so if you want to see her, get your ticket to Scarefest and go see him. Ryan Buell's out there, Father Bob. Sent the person your way. Going on in her house. Told her. Okay, awesome. Um, okay. Yeah, just have her get a hold of me. Um, I see we got some more viewers popped on. I'll recap what we were talking about tonight for the ones that just tuned in. Um, we were talking about the Smiling Man. He's known as Indrid Cold. You'll have to watch the replay. I had the whole history on him. Then we were talking about different types of ghosts, from the Loch Ness Monster to Bigfoot to different entities. And then we talked about the Northfield Pigman, and which you see a lot of. He's portrayed in a lot of horror movies as well. Um, we had two people playing Pigman at the haunted house last night and Thursday night. He was playing Pigman, and so it was a pretty good night with it. Right? Oh, we had people running last night, Thursday night too. I mean, we scared. We didn't have as many Thursday night as we did Friday night. Friday night was actually it was awesome. We scared a lot of people. I think we had well over 2,000 people come through the door last night. and the clowns is what really got him. We had some funny little story here. We had some big bodybuilder guys come in, and you know how bodybuilders are supposed to be manly. They're supposed to be tough. They lift weights. Well, we showed how these bodybuilders weren't tough. They the clowns got them, and then when they went through several of the other locations, I heard that quite a few of the other ones got them. When they got to us, they had a whole Camp Crystal Lake theme set up, and I was playing Jason Voorhees. And so these guys come in, and there's a like an exit doorway that goes out of Cinema One that we take to get to our locations quicker. Well, they kept thinking they wouldn't follow the arrows on the floor. They kept thinking that was the way out. Well, they didn't know there was a kid in a black costume with an alien face mask on hiding in there. And he would stand real still and he'd run out of there at him and scream at him, and that would scare him. Well, these bodybuilders saw this. They saw him, but they didn't see me. They turn around and here's Jason Voorhees standing over him, looking at him. And the way my mask was, it was and it was dark. Let me tap in the StreamYard and I will post a picture of it from my phone. But these guys, yeah, they thought they were tough, and when they got to us, they weren't tough. They were screaming, and so they decided to go and run through there, and so they ran. Hang on, I got an echo. Okay. So they ran through there, and they got real scared when they ran into us, and problem was they couldn't deal with us. Let me see if I can share that picture. Here, I'll just do this. I'll share the video for you guys that just tuned in, so you can watch it from Marshall Cinema, and you'll. It was a pretty good night. I mean, I had this one kid in with me. He was dressed like this alien type guy, and and it scared people when he came through, and so here's
Are you in love with a circus? I have a cavalcade of clowns here for your amusement and joy. Listen to us having so much fun. Perhaps you would like to join the circus too? There's always room for more. Come with us. Meat's back on the menu here. Welcome, lost. Prepare yourself for the journey.
Come back!
Witness the time I know that I shall away. I cannot see the yet that the rise of worship.
And that was the haunted house again for everybody who just tuned in. That's where we were at the past 2 days. Had an awesome time, and can't wait till next year to do it again. Now, mind you, this is an actual haunted movie theater. This movie theater was actually featured on Dead Files. Um, Amy Allen and Steve DeShavi did this in 2012. Group's the only group that's been in there to investigate that actual movie theater. Um, she does not let other teams in there because of out of respect for the spirits. We're respectful and have good intentions. We're like family there to her, and but yeah, it's an actual still working movie theater. That's why they only do the haunted house 2 nights. And as you see, the hard work and Allie and Daniela put into that, and the Marshall Cinema staff, they work a whole week on putting that together, and then they have to tear it all down so they can actually show movies. So, but it was a fun time. Can't wait to do it again. And so, um, got some ideas for a Halloween episode. I won't be on Halloween night, but I will be on the night after Halloween. So I'm putting together an episode for Halloween. So, but like I said, there won't be a podcast next Saturday. There'll be one Sunday night because we will be on an investigation with our good friends Penn Paranormal. We are going out to a historical location that dates back over hundreds of years, seeing its share of violence and battles. Um, between Jesse James coming through there and then the Battle of Crooked River, and we're actually going on the anniversary of the Battle of Crooked River. It happened on the 25th of October in 1838, which is another Mormon massacre happened a few days just before the Hans Mill massacre. So we will be out there investigating. We will be live. Um, we're going to check out the property, the old farmhouse on the property, the woods in the back, and then we're going to check out the historical cemetery that's about a minute down the road. It's in walking distance of their house that hasn't been active since the 1800s. And then we're going up to Nate Road. He was a colored man accused of practicing voodoo and witchcraft. Around that time, the locals didn't want that, so he lived up in a cabin up on the hill, and they drug him out of his cabin and they hung him from a tree in the middle of the road and the bridge to let people know that they don't allow witchcraft and voodoo being practiced. And so he had cursed the land that he lived on, and he cursed the bridge. And so you run into that urban legend out there, and the bridge, they put a concrete bridge up, and somebody had painted a pentagram on the weight limit sign for the bridge. So we're gonna go check that out, see if we can communicate with him and his spirit. The locals out there talk about it all the time. My old boss, he is from that area as well. He's talked about it as well. So, and these people that we're going to, I'm related to them. My dad and I are, and so so we'll be live from there. They gave us permission to film and go live, so we'll be filming out there, like I said, with good friends Penn Paranormal out of Kansas. So, um, that being said, we're gonna go ahead and log out for the night. I'm still tired from the past 2 days and trying to save my voice a little bit. So, because I am scheduled to be on a podcast tomorrow night at 6, it's a pre recorded one. And I believe it's going to be released on Halloween. The guy wanted to do a Halloween episode. He's a fairly new podcaster. He's only been doing it about a couple months, so he asked me if I would be a guest since he's local here in Missouri, and I told him I would. So that being said, remember, if you are being bullied in the paranormal field, you do have a voice. Nobody's better than anybody in this field. We're all after the same common goal. Stick up for each other, work together, stop being asshats. And again, if you're going to see Annabelle, tomorrow's the last day. So get your tickets. But definitely check us out next Sunday with Chris Williams of Get Haunted Midwest and Haunted Horror Road Trips. That's on YouTube. Um, so with that being said, we will see you all next Sunday. Have a good night, everyone. God bless. Stay safe out there. Anybody that's investigating, and we will see you next Sunday.